power, whether red or blue. I could not care less about Texas, me and you. They created this give me country that don't value hard work. For a Texan to survive, all we need are some seeds and dirt. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. We believe in family and we value our community. Gladly lend a helping hand to a neighbor in need. And we don't believe that government should provide for all of society's needs. No, it's the pride of a Texan to give to others voluntarily. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Gotta save your country, for it's long gone. They like our tax dollars and they love our natural resources. They don't want to see us driving trucks, they'd rather see us riding horses. And now they want to ban our guns, you know, especially the ones that look scary. But may I remind you of the Gonzales Cannon and the Alamo heroes we buried. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save our country, for it's long gone. This last verse is straight from the Texas Constitution, Article 1, Section 1 and 2. Look it up. Texas is an independent state, yet presently we suffer. We no longer possess the right to locally self-govern. And now it's time as a people in which all political power is inherent. And in such manner we find expedient, we reform or abolish our government. I said, Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone. Texan rise, don't you hear your call? Got to save your country, for it's long gone.
All right. Good evening, everyone. I want to thank you so much for joining us for the live stream tonight. We're going to have, I believe, an exciting time. We've got a lot to talk to you about, a lot of announcements to make. And when we're done, you're going to see beyond a shadow of a doubt that there is the next phase of the Texit campaign is going to be laid out in front of you, and it's all going to make sense where we're headed next. But before I get started, I just want to remind everyone out there, if you're watching this across any of our social media channels, please like and share, and drop your comments in the chat, whether it's on the YouTube channels, on Facebook. You can't do it obviously on our Roku channel, but we'd love to hear from you. So this is not coffee talk, so it's not a big Q&A session tonight, because we're going to have to maximize the time that we have together. And so for that, I have got my good friend, longtime colleague, one of my brothers in arms, the executive director of the Texas Nationalist Movement, Nate Smith. What's up?
Howdy.
Hey, so I've always had this question for you, and I've never asked you. Is it weird when you do these to hear you singing your song to you?
Yeah, it's a little weird.
Okay. I wasn't entirely sure. I just these are things one thinks about from time to time, right? Well, Nate, we got a lot for everyone tonight, don't we?
Oh, you're not going to believe how much there is.
Yeah, and look, I'm just gonna be honest with everyone. This is just a piece of it. This is not all of it. We have been, as an organization, working exactly the same strategy since 2005, and all the plans in between to move us right where we are. And I literally, Nate just looked at the site. We're right at the cusp of rolling over to 480,000 supporters.
Yes.
Yeah, I mean, these are registered supporters. Definitely cementing our place as the single largest political advocacy organization in the state, outside of the two major political parties. So the support is out there, and we're excited to be bringing campaign plans to all of you. I mean, I think probably some outsiders are thinking are probably going to think we're nuts for kind of laying it out there like we do. But there's no shame in our game. If all political power is inherent in the people, it doesn't matter who it hair lips. If they get upset about the plans, they can go, punch a hole in their sheetrock, or whatever they want to do. I really don't care. We're going to do what we do, right, Nate?
Absolutely.
Well, I want to banner a little bit before we start getting into these announcements, and I want to talk about sort of the strategic overview. And you and the rest of the team have just been integral parts of making these plans for all these many years, all moving that strategy forward. So do me a favor and just kind of share with everyone tonight what it's been like for you, both personally and as a Texas nationalist, to be able to see the sort of progress that we've been able to make.
Yeah, I mean, I've been active in this movement for, I think it's about 13 years now. It definitely goes back well over a decade, and to see the kind of progress that we've made as an organization is absolutely incredible. The number of growth that we've had in terms of supporters, in terms of volunteers, in terms of activism, the different campaigns that we've done. I mean, it's really incredible. TNM's had a lot of firsts, and we're not done having the firsts that other people have ever hoped to do. So, watching the way this organization grows, sure, we're going to talk tonight about some cycles, and they're kind of like cycles, but it's kind of more like a cyclone because it's kind of spinning upward and upward. They get a little bigger each time, and we get a little further along. So it's incredible to see how all these pieces fit in together. We've had so many just amazing leaders on our executive team, on our national leadership team, and our local leadership that have contributed these. All your feedback, all your input that you're always giving us. We're always looking back and saying, okay, when we get to implement this phase of the plan, what do we do? How do we make it better? How do we take your feedback into it? And so I'm just so grateful for everyone who's been a part of this. It couldn't be more exciting.
Yeah, I mean, it's been pretty awesome. I mean, I can remember when there was about a half dozen of us when we pulled this together in 2005, and it looked like the most impossible task at all. But I mean, we're right here on the cusp. I mean, there are some things that are happening that are going to move us closer. And I think, Nate, what I want to do tonight is start off by just briefly sharing with everyone sort of that 30,000 foot view, so you guys understand where this comes from, right? And you understand why what we're going to talk about tonight fits in the broader strategy. So I'm going to take you into Mr. Peabody's Wayback Machine for a moment. If you don't know what that is, you're way too young. It's almost past your bedtime. But back right before we started the TNM, back prior to 2005, we ran this massive, in-depth, comprehensive study of independence movements around the world. And part of that was other political and social movements. We wanted to see what worked and what didn't work. Many of you have heard me tell this story in speeches when we talked about this sort of thing. And so there were some things that we knew needed to happen. We knew because of Article 1, Section 2, this issue had to come to a vote. But how we got to that vote and how we ensured that once we got the vote, we didn't get our independence stripped from us, loomed large in our minds. And so, we wanted to make absolutely sure as we built this, we did the smart things. We did it right. We worked on building capacity. We worked on building political capital. We worked on engaging the people of Texas. And it's interesting, especially when we look back at the progress that we made since then. There are people out there that are under, that they've got this really weird view of the way the world works. They think, I'm going to get my football analogy in first tonight, Nate, by the way. They think every time the ball is snapped, it should be, you should throw it for the end zone. And if you miss that shot, then you've lost the game. And it's like, that's not how this works. If you truly want to see Texas as a self-governing independent nation, then what you have to do is acknowledge the fact that you have to make steady progress toward the goal. You look at the system as it is, as a regime, pure Gene Sharp. You look at the pillars of power that are holding it up, and then you make determinations about whether to push or pull those pillars. But additionally, and I think this factors in talking about the Texas legislature, kind of where a lot of people are sort of mentally on that issue, you really have, when you engage these pillars of power, you've got one of three options. You can either convert them, you could put enough pressure on them to force them into cooperation, aka political pressure, or you can replace them. There is no option D, right? So this has been, for us, always that cycle of moving the issue closer and closer and closer to a vote, building the numbers necessary to not only get the vote, but also to win the vote. And a lot of you old timers have heard us say it. The same things that will get us the vote are the same things that will win the vote. So, guys, I want you to buckle your seatbelts, because tonight we're going to talk about where we go from here, and understand this was not developed over the last 2 weeks. This isn't something that came about because of the end of the legislative session. These things were always on the table for the eventuality that the Texas Independence Referendum Act did not pass. And so here we are. So, Nate, what I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and throw this up for you. And we're going to start going through some of these big announcements. So why don't you go ahead and lay the groundwork for us?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, one thing that I want to point out is that, our cause, like Daniel said, it's winning. We don't score on every play. I'm going to throw my football analogy out there too. But we're advancing to reach our ultimate goal with every play. I mean, this concept, this plays right into the legislative part we're going to talk about. People are like, well, the Texas bill didn't pass. That's okay. Do you know what we got done with the Texas bill this time that's never been done before, that's gotten farther than it's ever gotten? Those are the key things that are done there. So, and I know there's a lot of kind of discontent towards this, what transpired in the 2023 legislative session, or, a sense of a letdown. But let me tell you, this session's been interesting for us. Not only was the Texas Independence Referendum Act filed for a second time, historically, that's great. That's no small progress. Just because you get it one session doesn't mean you get it the second session. That took a lot of work. And, sure, it didn't make it to hearing this time either, but I need to tell you what happened behind the scenes with the bill. That's the reason why we know it's farther than it's ever been. We had a select group of TNM legislative activists spending lots of time in Austin, building inroads and having great sit downs with both the legislators and their staff. The meetings were very positive in both chambers, the House and the Senate, and we were able to grow support for the bill. We were able to have conversations about this bill with people that didn't want to hear anything about it before. They were Texit, get out. I mean, that's literally what we have faced in sessions past, because again, this legislative session is not our first rodeo in the TNM. We also had our amazing supporters and volunteers making thousands of calls and other positive interactions with staff. I mean, not only phone calls, but visits, emails, and our awesome legislative letter program that showed them directly, here are people in your district willing to put their name, physically sign on the line, and turn in letters to their legislators saying, we want a vote on Texas independence. We want a Texit vote. All of that built a whole lot. And the reason why I say that the progress was there is the level of conversations we were able to have behind the scenes, building that political capital that Daniel referred to. That was an incredible part of what went on. We gained a lot of political capital, and that's the reason why some people didn't come out and publicly co-author the bill. They had some other moves that they needed to make given the overall nature of this legislative session and who was in power and who wasn't. But I'm telling you, we built allies and people that are willing to work with us and listen to us for the next session, and that's crucial. That's absolutely crucial.
Well, Nate, one thing really quickly, for those of you that I see with the chatter saying, I don't trust the legislature, all that, good, because we're going to give you something to do about that. So for all of you out there, they're saying, I don't trust the Texas legislature, we need better legislators. You're about to get a homework assignment, and we're going to find out just how serious you are about that statement. So let's go get them, Nate.
Absolutely. Yeah. When it comes to needing better legislators, I mean, what we'd love probably in a lot of cases to replace, right up there and around the 179 to 181 of them in some aspects could use a good replacement. The reality is what we're working behind the scenes is that we know that we have to have, there's people that are going to make it into the legislative session again last time. And the relationships that we built with them this time says that if they're back, we want them to vote Texit regardless of what else we agree with them on. So again, really positive. And another reminder, just this year as a whole, our volunteers have grown, our activism is up. We talked about that 480,000 number. That's 50,000 new people that signed up to support Texit this year. That's no small feat. And that's the very thing that enabled us to be able to make some of the announcements that we're making tonight. It's having that activist, that supporter, that volunteer force in place have allowed us to move to the next phase of this cycle. So here's a quick refresher on the stages of Texit, right? We're building capacity, we're creating momentum, we're connecting with Texit volunteers. That's where that comes in. We're also working to get a Texit vote. Where we're at, we've built a good chunk of the capacity that we need to get the Texit vote. We have enough in place to get that vote now. Now the bottleneck is in the legislature, right? And working with those. So the things that you're going to see us move next, you've heard us in years past, it's just been, identify supporters, build capacity. We're working with the legislator. We're making progress there, but we haven't been able to really go full court pressure in a lot of ways and put on them. But now we have the ability to take that capacity that we have built and put pressure on. And again, that's going to play into what you see tonight. The other part of this capacity building is making sure that we have the resources available to not only win the vote when it's on the ballot, and that survey last year was pretty good. 66% of likely Texas voters would vote in favor, but also make sure that their vote counts. There's a huge component and all the pressures and the systems and pillars of society to make sure that when they show up to the vote, that their vote is both counted, that it's recognized, that we call attention to that, and that we're able to take that pressure after the Texit vote to make sure that it gets implemented and ultimately secure in Texit. So what I want to break down for you next, because a lot of our folks aren't quite sure how some of these cycles work that I mentioned earlier, I want to do a pretty quick overview of the way that our biennial legislature works, right? We have a lot of folks that have a tendency to say to themselves that, well, oh, it didn't pass in 2023, so I guess we just hang out for 2 years and see what happens in the next session. That's not the way this game works at all. It's a continuous process, although I'm thankful that our guys aren't always passing bills in Austin and that we're not having to deal with them nonstop. So the fact that we get a little break to change gears and do different activities is wonderful, even though they're currently headed for more special sessions. So, you know, in order to understand these, we're going to talk to you about two different components of this legislative cycle. We're going to talk about both the campaign cycle and the actual legislative session itself. But to give you a little timeline of kind of how this works and to put this on a chart. So we're currently in the June of 2023, recruiting, vetting candidates. We're looking at a primary campaign that's just starting to take shape. You're just starting to see people announce for office for these different races that are currently up. That whole primary campaign process runs through, until the March 5th election, right? Then we move to runoff campaigns for those that don't secure it in the primary. We move to general campaign mode, a lot of campaigning, as you've seen already. And then we switch to this legislative part of the cycle, which starts with pre-filing a week after the November elections, and then right into the legislative session in January. Now, if we're successful at getting the Texas Independence Referendum Act passed in the 2025 legislature, which again is up to us to keep implementing these strategies we built, they will pave the way. It's a real possibility to happen. Then we have a little shift in our focus. We're still recruiting and vetting candidates because we want to make sure we got the right people in office to implement the results of that vote when it comes out in the affirmative. But we also have a big campaign mode that goes on as a part of that as well to help actually turn the votes out for that vote that could take place in November of 2025.
Yeah. Hey, Nate, and let me point something out to everyone. If you notice something on that chart, there are no gaps, right? This is the thing that people need to understand about the legislative session is that once the session is over, even really before it's over with, we're already moving in. The composition of the next legislature is being determined right now. It's happening right now. Even our friend Andy Hopper announced that he's running for state representative, right? I mean, these things are happening right now. So understand, those of you that want to say, well, the session's over, I'm going to go home and rub my mad spot, and then when the next legislative session shows up, we'll do better. Well, no, you got to do better now. Now is the time. Absolutely.
That goes right into this campaign cycle we're going to build into. So recruiting potential candidates, it ideally begins at least a cycle ahead. I mean, it's hard to unseat incumbents. I think y'all know that. So anybody right now that's thinking about running for 2027, good. That's very good on you. But we're also working for this 2025 cycle, right? So we're recruiting, we're vetting candidates for that. Candidates typically make a formal declaration they're running for office by filing a campaign treasury report and making that announcement. They can start doing fundraising. And in that cycle, the traditional campaign activities like hosting candidate forums on groups and really getting out and hitting the road really starts to take off in about August, September of this year. So another key step in this cycle is the filing deadline. December the 13th this year is the last day that a candidate has to file for office. So not only are you seeing campaigning take place, but we're also still able to continue recruiting potential candidates throughout that whole time that align with these Texas First values that would support a Texit vote. Now, one other thing I want to go quick, because I know we got some folks tonight that may be unsure what a primary election is. We had that when we were doing the petition drive, a lot of folks that weren't familiar with that process, that hadn't participated in primaries before, and so there was some confusion around that versus the general election. So general election is where you get to choose from candidates that each represent one party on the ballot or an independent. And the primary election is where you choose which one of those candidates move forward that represents that party. So all within the same party in a primary election, you'll be able to choose from a group of people that represent that. And I bring that up because one of the things we've seen happen before and confusion around this is people will think that, you're taking away from a party's vote when you cast a vote in the primary election. And that's not the case. You're just choosing who the best representative for that party is in that primary election. Now, December through February, these are the most intense months of the primary season. Campaigning's an overdrive. You got back-to-back campaign events, block walking, floods of TV ads, campaign mailers all over your doorstep. And then you see in February, right before the early voting starts, this get out the vote effort. And, while it's primarily block walking, phone banking, and texting, The purpose behind that, because if you may not be familiar with the term GOTV, or get out the vote, is that you're asking voters to create a voting plan. So whether they're going to vote absentee, or whether they're going to vote in early election, or actually on the election day, you want them to commit to a specific date, location, time, and even method of transportation of how they're going to get there. And the more that campaigns or efforts or energies or ballot propositions do that and set those clear expectations with the voters, the more likely they are to turn out. And that's really, really key, because it's one thing to have a bunch of people that support you. It's another thing to have them actually show up and cast a vote in your favor. So March 5th, that's the big day. That's primary election day for both the Republican and Democratic parties. Third parties, they don't have primaries. They select candidates by a vote of delegates at their convention. And then as we see that take off as well, you'll see precinct conventions for this whole other part of the process. But that really doesn't have anything to do with the candidate election cycle. The other one thing to know is that the runoff elections. So if no candidate gets more than 50% of the vote in a primary election, then the top two candidates to get the most votes will go to a runoff election that takes place May the 28th. And then we move towards that traditional campaign cycle towards the November 5th election. Whew. Yeah, that's campaigning. What happens after the November election? Then we move right into the legislative session. As Daniel was saying, there's no breaks. Literally the week after the general election, pre-filing of bills opens on November 11th. The legislative session will start January the 14th of 2025. Now, we want to play a key role in this, right? We would love to have the Texas Independence Referendum Act pre-filed on the November 11th date. And trust me, we're going to do everything, and you're going to see some programs there to contribute that to make it happen. I can't guarantee that it'll happen, but we're going to do as much work as we possibly can to have the bill pre-filed in this session. Now, the session lasts for 140 days, and 60 days in is the last day to file House bills. Obviously, that's a key deadline. And then you're seeing what you're seeing right now, which is 30-day special sessions called by the governor, which could allow for some kind of extended set, but it's really only things that he puts on the agenda. So in that little legislative session as well, somehow they managed to get through thousands of pieces of new legislation to influence it. And as we saw this time, it's not all good stuff either. Some of the really critical pieces we need don't get past there. That's the cycle as we move through that right there between that. So with that as a foundation, I want to move on to some of these really big announcements tonight, because we don't just have one or two to roll out to you. We got quite a few. All right. So what you've been saying that you really want around this, what our supporters really, really want, is a vote on Texit. And we know that the current legislature did not enable that to happen in November as we would have really liked to have. So how do we get that vote on Texit? How do we force that to happen? Well, the official statewide vote has to go through the legislature. There's no other way around it. They ultimately have to pass that bill. There is another way. We did it before, a primary petition drive. It is a massive undertaking. No organization has successfully completed the primary petition drive because it requires so many signatures. But there's a reason why we're bringing it back, and understand all that capacity building and the work we've been doing is the reason why. It's back. It's better. It's online. That means we can get petition signatures online and force this issue on a party primary ballot in March of 2024. This is incredible. So this means that we'll be able to send out emails and text messages to all of our contactable supporters, and they'll be able to sign the petition without having to either become a certified petition circulator, or CPC as we call it, or having to go meet one in person. That was a huge impediment to getting the signatures that we needed in this last petition effort that we did. We still got tens of thousands, an amazing number, but not enough to push it over the line. So being able to sign it online is going to give us a huge advantage, and the ability to get lots of signatures quickly from those existing supporters. In fact, that's the focus for the month of June, is sharing, and reaching your personal network with this petition drive. Then it kicks into the field events as well. So one other cool thing we have this time is that the text opt-in number. If you're an adamant volunteer or supporter working with the T&M, you've seen that we've had the ability to text sign up different people that want to declare their support for independence. Well, there's going to be a way to text to sign the petition. That's really cool. Now, they're going to have to go online to fill the form out and follow all the steps, but this makes this process so much easier, and that's going to be the bulk of our work as we're out in the field collecting signatures. Is going to be using this text opt-in method. We still need CPC certified petition circulators. They're the ones that do the big push. They're the ones working the events. They got a huge support network. It's going to be a very, very exciting thing to be a CPC, but the paper side of things, which is really more of the pain side of things, you're going to have to be a CPC in order to do that. You can't just share a code. So we need them to do that because sometimes it's just a crucial backup that we need when we're out doing these public events. The other great thing about that for when you do have to do either sharing your link or doing the paper petitions is that there's less notaries involved. We found a provision in the Texas election code that says if you're out as a CPC force collecting signatures, instead of having to get every single page notarized, which was a pain, now you can do one affidavit at the end of the signatures you have collected and send that in. You no longer have to get every single page notarized. This is huge. The last part of this announcement that's really big, obviously the number of signatures we have to get, we're up to 100,000 for the Republican, but we are also releasing a petition for the Democratic primary. 55,000 signatures is a requirement for them. We're only circulating that online. We're not doing a paper version to keep those down because most of these signatures are going to come in via the online form. And so this just makes this process a lot simpler. And if you're wondering where those numbers come from, the 100,000 or 55,000, that's 5% of the signatures collected. I'm sorry, not signatures, of the votes cast in the last gubernatorial election for the party primary. It's 5% mark. That's why it's up. We had more people vote in the last one. So huge, huge news on this. I mean, let me show you a little preview of this page you're going to be able to get to tonight, where you get to go sign the petition online and choose whether you're going to do the Republican petition or the Democrat petition. We have 180 days from today. December 1st is the deadline. Let's knock it out of the park, guys.
And Nate, let me jump in because I saw someone ask, how do we know if they're going to accept? Well, here's what you need to understand. If it was not clear through what Nate said, here's what you need to understand about this petition. Texas Election Code 172.088 lays out this process and says if you follow this process and if your petition meets this list of requirements and you collect the requisite number of signatures, it's not discretionary. It has to go on the ballot. And so we have a legally compliant petition. We got lawyers on speed dial, and we've got a bunch of people here in Texas that, were it not for the Byzantine method that they require for paper collection, would have either helped us collect or would have signed the last time. And what we've done is absolutely revolutionary. I mean, this is, when and Nate mentioned this earlier, we're the first organization to ever try this. As far as I know, we're the only organization to ever try it. And I think based off of this, we're going to be the only organization that ever gets it across the finish line, or at least the first one. Because this electronic collection method is a game changer for a lot of reasons. We won't go into those tonight because we don't have the time. We got a lot to talk about tonight. But I want everyone to understand, if it was not clear, that this is a legal petition. This is not some dippy website, White House petition. This is not, let me scrawl my disapproval on a cocktail napkin, and if I can get enough for our legislators to set their drinks on, maybe we'll get their attention. I mean, this is, you cross the finish line, you're going to get a chance to vote on it in the March primaries in 2024. Point blank.
Absolutely. Yeah. And the things we did to be able to do it online this time versus last time, the technology that we implemented, I mean, don't quote me on this, but I would dare to say it's probably more secure than when you're actually casting your vote at the ballot box, because it is top shelf high grade verification and audit trail of your signature when you sign online. World class. So we're very excited about that. All right, is that the last announcement we have, Daniel?
Yeah, no, not tonight.
Not even by a little. We got quite a few more. So, big announcement number 2 is our Chair the Vote campaign. What is Chair the Vote campaign? My friends, we're going out and we're asking our party chairs, our precinct chairs, county chairs, state Republican Executive Committee members to support a resolution that does what? It reinforces planks 33 and 225 of the party platform, another pressure point on the legislature to put this on the ballot. This is crucial. I mean, they ignored a good chunk of the platform and they didn't advance it this time just based on the planks alone. So going back and reinforcing that county by county by county from these executive committees is another huge pressure point for them, because they still have some excuses when it comes to some of them, like, well, maybe my area didn't support that. Well, when your county say it, then yeah, it's kind of hard to ignore the county plus your platform. But this has another advantage as well, because this campaign also calls on the state Republican Executive Committee to go ahead and put this question on the ballot regardless of the petition. So that is the normal way that those extra questions go on the primary, is the committee votes on it to put them on there. And so this is, again, asking from the county level to say, hey, representative, let's honor the platform. We have the ability to give the people a vote on this. Let's go ahead and vote that straight on through with the SREC. So the petition forces it on there, but this is another channel to get it on through a vote, which would also be a wonderful way. And the petition, while the biggest benefit by far is having on the ballot, understand there are other tremendous benefits to doing the petition drive, which comes with our engagement with the public and with voters and identifying new supporters. All those things ramp into overdrive when we're doing this petition effort, and there's so many benefits from it in addition to the actual work the petition does of putting this question on the ballot. So we're really excited to unveil this program, Chair the Vote, to put that extra pressure point on there. So if you're a precinct chair, you're a county chair, you're an SREC member, or you have a good relationship with one of those above, we want you to go to the brand new campaign section of the TNM site and sign up to do that. Sign up to be a part of this program for us. We got some training for you. We got the resolutions drawn up already. And our own Susan Williamson, who's a district director for us, is going to be spearheading that program. And we're very, very grateful. We have such an incredible team. But guess what? That's not the last announcement. If it sounds like I'm rushing a little bit, it's because we got quite a few things to cover tonight.
Yeah.
So,
number 3. Nate, I've been waiting since we started to do this.
Got the scroller. You can sign the petition and see our campaigns. Awesome.
There we go. All right. Keep going. Sorry.
So I know we just talked about resolutions, but guess what? We're not done. We got the resolution revolution. That is what is coming up next. These are county resolutions, not for the party like the last one, but for the actual county commissioner's court. Now, many of you heard last year, Edwards County Commissioner Court, they passed their own resolution calling on the legislature saying we've had enough of the federal government, in particular their hard-hit county by the lack of border security. And they took the effort to go pass a resolution saying it's time. The people of Texas deserve a vote on this. We want to vote on Texas independence. Not only that, we had a second county that got really, really close to that as well, got support from the commissioner's court, and I think we're going to be able to get them over the finish line soon. So we said, why not just roll this out to more and more counties and give them the opportunity to do that? So our resolution revolution campaign is your opportunity to go out and do that. What do you need to do in order to be an active participant and make this happen? Like it's pretty simple. You get to go give a presentation to your county commissioner's court and to the judge that sits on that court as well. Now, ideally, this really involves building some relationships to get this across the finish line. The more we know, the better it is. So if you already know a county commissioner or county judge, then you're straight into this game. You're one step ahead. If you don't know one yet, but you're willing to get to know one, sign up. We're going to make this thing happen. We're going to go through the different steps of what it takes. I'm not going to lie to you. If you're in a very large county, it's going to be a lot more difficult, and there's some different things that we're going to do in terms of population wise. But for a lot of the lower population counties, I think you'll be surprised at how smooth this process goes and how much fun it is from what we've heard from our folks that have done it already. And you'll see a preview over here on the right side of our campaign little feature section there, including the countdown to how long we have to get that done. So when you get to check the site out, you'll get to see more of those. Really awesome and nice. Oh, yeah, we're still not done. We're moving on to big announcement number 4. Now, this program was another thing that we learned a key lesson on this year. The things that we learned from that and developed in our efforts in the Stand Near the Ledge campaign. So here is what we need to do to stand near the ledge. We are recruiting legislative liaisons to continue to build on that activist team. The folks that went to Austin for us this year did an incredible job of building relationships. But as you can imagine, when there's 181 people that you need to build relationships with in Austin, it's hard to do that at a quality level if you're trying to take on 20, 30, 40 of them at a time. So we need at least 50 legislative liaisons to participate in this program with us. This is a long-term program that plays into that strategic campaign cycle. Right? This is building relationship with the legislator, with their staff. This is the chance to go in and educate them on what Texit is, and more importantly, as we learned, teaching them what it is not. That's a lot of the questions they have is assumptions that they think that Texit, or in particular, that our bill is, for example, a declaration of Texit. It's not. The bill that we have, the Texas Independence Referendum Act, just calls for a referendum to put before the people. So that's the kind of conversations that you'll be having and building. This will require office visits and campaign interactions when they're out on the campaign trail in the next few months. So we're seeking folks to sign up for that. This is another one of our campaigns that we've put into this new section of the site at tnm.me/campaigns. You see scrolling across the screen there. So y'all be sure to check that up. If that's something that interests you, you're ready to go get to know really, really well your legislator and help talk to them about this legislation as well as other legislation that's in line with the TNM mission, this is the opportunity that you've been waiting for.
By the way, Nate, I want to take this opportunity to thank Mr. or Mrs. Jackson, because I'm not gonna give away anybody's name, in Kerrville for being the first signer on the Texit petition for this campaign. So congratulations to you.
Awesome. We already got petition signatures coming in. All right, folks, we got a few more for you here. We're not done yet. Big announcement number 5. As soon as my screen advances, there we go. We are rolling out new functions and new features of the Take Texas Backpack. Now, as you know, this is another crucial component of this, that candidate recruitment, that candidate vetting process. We had an awesome program put together for us and that ran in the last cycle. We did some tremendous jobs with campaigns, and we now have the infrastructure, the knowledge, the experience to grow that even further and support even more candidates. So the first part of this is the candidate recruitment. You get to run for office. And we also have a new feature coming that a number of you are out there already, getting to meet candidates that have already declared or right around the verge of declaring, and you know that they align with our values and the TNM and want to put Texas first. We've got a new feature coming soon to the Take Texas Back site as part of the overhaul where you can actually recommend a candidate. Now, you're going to need to get some detailed information because I don't want you just throwing every candidate name out there that you can find. But this feature is very, very helpful to us because we want to know who those folks are that align with our values, that are running campaigns, so that we can figure out the best way to support what they're doing if they're willing to commit to help our cause. That's not all. The Texas First Pledge. We've got a ton of enhancements coming to that. Now, the Texas First Pledge was incredibly successful in the last cycle. We had 100 signers of the Texas First Pledge. And then just a mind-boggling amount of signers for this. It's one of the things that we are able to use to ask our legislators to hold true to that It's come in handy already. And we're also looking on the Texas First Pledge that we've had people sign at every race and level. So, I mean, it started from people that were precinct chairs and holding party positions, to people that ran for local office, the people that ran for state rep and one state rep, all the way up to the Texas Ag Commissioner signed it. We had all three challengers to Greg Abbott in the governor's race in the last session signed it. I mean, an absolutely incredible component. So we're doing some enhancements to that to make that even more useful to you, to know what these folks are committing to make sure that we have their commitment. We got some cool security updates to really do a strong audit on them as well. That's the same technology we're using in the electronic petition signing. And so this is all going into the site overhaul. But the other cool thing is, we heard you requested over and over again on the last cycle, and this is rolling out on the new version of Take Texas Back site by request. We're going to allow you to format and print a customized list of pledge signers that will be on your local ballot. So you put your address information in, and it tells you, boom, 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 which one of these pledge signers will be on your ballot. A tremendous feature. A lot of y'all requested it. We're super excited to be delivering that to you with this revamp of the TakeTexasBack.com site. That's not all. Take Texas Back.
You got to do your best Billy Mays. Oh, wait, that's not all.
Oh, there's more. Even within the Take Texas Back campaign, there's a volunteers that we're going to be rolling out on a whole new level. So the folks that are out working with us on this petition as certified petition circulators, they're going to do incredible work to pave the way for our TCB volunteers. A lot of folks, I imagine, who will do both. As you find out who these candidates are that's saying, absolutely, I'm going to put Texas first. I'm going to call for a vote on Texit. I'm going to co-author a bill on Texit if I sign this pledge, or you know what, I'm flat out in support of Texit. As we see those things come to fruition, you're probably going to want to get out and campaign for those folks and help them win. And that's part of our PAC's job, is to make sure that those candidates have the best path to victory. So we're going to have a volunteer sign up coming soon on the Take Texas Back side. And so we can teach you all the best ways that you can be effective. But if you're out working hard for us, getting petition signatures, starting tomorrow and sharing the petition and doing the things around that, or starting tonight rather, you're going to be able to be a one step ahead of the game when it comes to volunteering for the PAC. The skill sets will transfer from one to the next. And trust me, a lot of these things have synergy and play together really well right off of one another. Yeah, I think that's quite a bit for the Take Texas Back PAC.
It's going to be huge. I think, are we at the point where we talk about how these things are synergistic and work together?
Yes. Yeah. Well, actually, okay. We got one more announcement.
Yeah, go ahead and drop it, and then we'll backfill and we'll pull it all together for everyone.
Yeah, this is going to add one more big component of synergy to it, and that's our announcement number 6, which is not the last one. But we're seeking our polling place volunteers. We've talked about this program before. We've made it very clear that when you get that referendum on the ballot, in order to secure those elections, in order to make sure those votes are counted, in order to have the best impact of the polls and make sure that no funny business goes on, that when those 66% of likely Texas voters show up in overwhelming numbers, the average independence referendum turnout is 85% of registered voters. When they show up, we need to make sure they count. So that means we need volunteers at every precinct location across Texas. There are 10,000 precincts. And for that potentially November 2025 referendum, we want to have an average of at least 3 volunteers at every polling location to help us out. That's 30,000 plus volunteers. That doesn't happen overnight, so we're starting now to build that program out. Really, really incredible opportunity, and it's going to help us get involved in a lot of ways, not only with our own volunteers, but this is, especially the poll watching aspect of it, is another thing that allows us to use this other side. Not only do we build inroads with the legislature, but we've been building our strength in like-minded organizations, or organizations that see eye to eye with us on Texas first issues. So this is another incredible opportunity to feed off of those organizations and those relationships that we've been building. Now, as a part of this campaign, or the volunteer types that you'll see, the roles that we'll see in that go in, everything from actual paid election workers. If you can fill that role, we'll help you figure out if that's needed in your county and what it takes to get that done. We'll have poll watchers, which is a program that requires SOS training from that's the Secretary of State, official training there, and has to be appointed by either a party, a candidate, or a campaign of an issue. So we'll have that. But not only that, there's options at the polls to do things like poll greeter, which is what allows you to have an actual sign up about important issues or candidates 100 foot outside the polling place, or to represent that, or hand out cards to people about the Texas First candidates. If you stay 100 feet outside the polling place, those locations will be marked. Not only that, there's also an opportunity for exit pollers, and we'll get into more details on all these roles in the program. And we'll cover the synergy side of this in just a second too. But we're starting to recruit those. That is, again, another one where the sign up is coming very soon. It's rolling out this month in June. We'll sign up for that. And, we'll need some volunteers as early as this November 2023 campaign. Most of the November 2023 election are constitutional amendments. So the parties can't appoint poll watchers for that, but we'll still need election volunteers around there. When it comes to the actual poll watchers themselves, HD2 is having a special election in November, so that'll give us the opportunities for those that really want to get in on that poll watching side of things and understand that. We'll be sending those to the HB2 and recruiting from that area. And then we want to keep building and building those as we roll through the primaries and the runoffs in the November 2024 general election, as this force grows steadily up to the 30,000 volunteers that we need. So let's talk synergy. All right.
Yeah.
One of the synergistic aspects of this polling place volunteers that occurs is the fact that for the November 2023 election, you can be there with your petition and encourage people to sign the petition and get signatures as long as you stay 100 foot out. So again, a campaign where we're both building these polling place volunteers. We'll encourage you to be a part of that and participate as this force grows. But it's also a chance to go out and get some of those petitions signed and make people aware that the petition is out there, because the petition rolls through December 1st. What are some other synergies you want to point out, Daniel?
Well, look, I want to bring it all together so everyone understands how all of these things work together. And I want to start with reminding everyone of a very clear statistic about independence referendums worldwide. And that is, independence referendums worldwide, the average voter turnout is 85%. Okay. Now, normally we talk about that in terms of, having the big daddy referendum, but understand that the ability for the people of Texas, the 60% of overall voters and 66% of likely voters, the ability to be able to go into a polling place and vote on this issue means they're going to turn up. And these are people, a lot of them, that may not have normally voted in a primary or have been waiting for an opportunity to have their voice heard on this issue. So just by getting the petition across the finish line and getting the question on the March primary ballot, you're going to have a massive number of pro-Texit voters turn up to be able to vote on this issue. People that don't normally vote in primaries, people that may vote in the general election or may not vote at all, right? They're going to turn up because they've got the opportunity to vote and answer the question, should the state of Texas reassert its status as an independent nation? So imagine what that does to the political calculus. If, let's say, we double normal voter turnout, let's say we don't even hit the 85% because it's on a primary ballot. We kind of hit, but we double normal voter turnout. What does that do? How does that upset the apple cart? Well, imagine now if all of those people are able to go to the primaries, and not only are they able to vote in favor of Texit, but are able to vote for pro-Texit candidates that are on the ballot. Because that's one thing, it's one of the reasons the electorate's upset right now. You voted and you elected people to go do your will, and they are not doing what you want them to do. But now you have an opportunity to not only potentially be able to vote on Texit, but be able to vote for people that will carry out your will because they're aligned with you on the issue. So you take the petition, you take the pressure from the county commissioners courts, because remember the three things: conversion, cooperation, or replacement, political pressure from that local level. These guys have to go home at some point. Then you've got pressure coming for the SREC just to put the question on the ballot, regardless of the petition, right? So that we're doubling down on planks 33 and 225 and saying, look, the delegates to the convention should be heard. The platform should be respected along with all these other things, right? So you've got that pressure. Then we've got oversight with these polling place volunteers to both do voter engagement, but also to lay the groundwork to ensure that when the Texit vote eventually happens, the big daddy, that we've got the boots on the ground to ensure that no one puts their thumb on the scales and deprives us of our political voice, that deprives us of our political will. And look, if the legislature is incapable of passing legislation that secures the ballot box, that's something we can do. We need the volunteers to do it. So you have to understand all of these things work to either convert, force cooperation, or engage replacement, but ultimately all of them end up in giving you a vote on Texas independence, the thing that we have wanted for so very long. We just have to get it done. So there's the synergy. All these things work toward our strategic goals. It may not be a flea flicker that ends in a 99-yard touchdown run, but it gets us down the field and wins us the game, and I'm okay with that.
It's exciting to see the way that all these things work together and play off of one another and get us to where we really want to go. And, here's one more piece that's going to contribute to that heavily. We've got another big announcement. And this announcement is something that you've been waiting for, that we've been wanting to deliver at this type of a scale that we've been wanting. And when the timeline plays in, if you're not there, you're going to regret it. I can tell you that this is the place that every Texas supporter is going to be glad that they were or wish that they had been. And that is Texit Con. It's happening. It's coming. Oh, wow.
It's been a hot minute.
It has. This is going to be November the 10th through the 12th of this year, right after that election, still in the middle of this petition hype, the drive we've got going on, right in the middle of the campaign season. There's so many wonderful things that we can play off one another with the timing of this. And it's going to be in Waco, Texas, and it's going to be huge. It's going to be phenomenal. We're going to have speakers. We're going to have educational components. We're going to have different tracks representing the political, the economic, the cultural aspects of Texas independence. All the things that we support are going to be there. And it's going to be the world's largest Texit conference. If you can find a larger one, you better let me know, because and we'll find a way to one-up it. But it's going to be a really, really incredible experience. And I want you all to just imagine for a second that it's November. We've done these amazing things already with the petition campaign. We've done these amazing things with these other programs. We've just gone through an election. We've had these polling place volunteers out there. We've got this candidates, massive amount of candidates running. Maybe they'll want a place to speak and talk and engage with Texit voters, right? And so here you are sitting in this room with hundreds and hundreds of Texit voters, and just the excitement and the atmosphere as we move into the next phase of the process. We wrap the year up. It's going to be absolutely magnificent, and we're going to have so many surprises in for you and what happens at Texit Con. So we're going to have exhibitor space. We're going to have sponsorships. If you know someone who wants to exhibit that would like to be in front of us or sponsor, send that information in. We'd love to see it. That's a contact form for that. The early bird pricing tickets will be on sale in late June. And for those of you that gave to our Catalyst campaign and the amount of, I forget what the specified amount was, but if you receive that level to get 50% tickets, we'll be notifying you early, as well as our Line in the Sand Society donors will get early notification of that ticket sale, so you can go get those and you can get any relevant discounts. And because things worked out really well with the venue, this is going to be at the Waco Convention Center. We were also able to talk and plan dates. The location's not 100% locked in, but we got the dates for Texit Con 2024 as well, December the 5th or the 8th. And again, I want you to think of where that fits into this overall timeline. 1 month after the general election in 2024, 1 month after whatever happens at that federal level dog and pony show that everybody's paying attention to, and 1 month before the Texas legislature goes back into session to have this massive Texit Con lineup just right there. Trust me, you're going to want to go to both of them, but we wanted to go ahead and give you that date so you can mark it on your calendar.
And I expect to see all of you there. You guys have been calling for a massive statewide, nationwide, international convocation of Texit supporters, and this is going to be your opportunity. You're gonna see some things here that are going to be pretty doggone amazing. So you are not going to want to miss it. I'm expecting to see all of you there that I've gotten emails from saying, when are we going to have a convention? Boom, shakalaka. Go get them.
Heck, you might even talk me into playing a couple of songs there. You never know. Might get to hear one of those live. It'll be a lot of fun. We're not done. We are done with, I guess, the big announcements, but we've got a big teaser. Paul Roby, our field director, helped write this little byline here, because we're not going to tell you what it is. That's why it's a teaser. But it's hot in the city, has something to do with it. So y'all feel free to start trying to figure out what exactly it is. But here's what you're going to know. Secret project number 1. And it's number 1 because we actually have 2 secret projects. I didn't even make a slide for secret project number 2. This project, there's a lot of reasons why we're not going to get into the details, because while we can unveil a lot of our plan, there's a few things that, just don't make sense to release out there to our opposition and everybody early. So this has a December 2023 kickoff. The teams and the skills and things that you've done during the petition drive will apply right here. It will complement and add even more synergy to that get out the vote effort, to the candidate primary support, to what happens on the primary ballot with both the candidates and the Texit question. Trust me, this builds right in line with it. It's really, really exciting. And I know that's not a lot of details for you, but we had to throw out there as a teaser because we want y'all to know there are things that we are working on that there's things that we could announce tonight that we just don't have enough time to do. But there's also other things we're working on that we can't even announce yet because they're building behind the scenes. We've had these in the queue, developing and researching for a while. And when the time is right, we'll put it out there to you. So be excited about secret project number 1. It's going to work so well into this incredible timeline to the 2025 potential referendum. And just to kind of recap and look at the way that these things play together, we decided to put this all on a timeline for you. So we got these ongoing programs in the top part of this, our legislative liaison, building those relationships with the legislature themselves, the resolution revolution with our county commissioner court resolutions. That's an ongoing project. That's not something that we just, we roll it out for 2 months and that's done. No, there's 254 counties in Texas. So it's not done until 254 counties have passed a resolution calling for this. That continues to build on this cycle and beyond if needed. We're also ultimately continuously recruiting and vetting candidates. Like I said, we're not only recruiting and vetting for this cycle, but we're also looking at the 2027 potential candidates. We've already got some folks kind of signed up and expressed their interest, and they're going to play some key roles in campaigns this time to learn about that. It's ultimately a continuous thing, but there are essentially breaks in it depending on which one you're running for. We've got our Chair the Vote campaign with the CEC resolutions. Now that's specific to party chairs, county chairs, precinct. So that is a shorter timeline that ends in December. But that's another crucial effort. And the last part is this polling place volunteers, election volunteers. That's a long-term building of the people that we need. Now, this bottom part of it, I know it's a lot of campaigns, a lot of things up there on the timeline. This is really where the bulk of our field volunteers, our wonderful activists, our local groups, where they participate, where they plug in on activism. This kind of gives you a calendar of how their projects flow and merge right in front of the next. So we have this primary petition campaign that runs from now till December the 1st. We have the Take Texas Back primary campaign where we're using those TTB volunteers to go out and support those Take Texas Back, Texas First candidates. We got Secret Projects 1 and 2 coming right out of that as we move and continue through a primary campaign. We have party conventions. Y'all know we played roles at those before too. So for those that are involved with the party side of things, we'll be involved in conventions and rolling out more announcements around that. We'll have runoff campaigns that the field's working on at that same time, out still going door to door, working on the direct voter engagement and supporter identification. Moves to the general election campaign, doing more of that and supporting those TTB candidates, which moves us right into the 89th regular legislative session for Texas, where we're going to have Texas Independence Referendum Act. And we've got a whole lot of incredible capital action activities already being mapped out and planned out. It's going to be our best legislative session ever. Very exciting to be involved at that point. And it's only like, a year and a half away, but we're already planning for it. So looking forward to that. And then the referendum campaign. And then if all goes well, a Texit vote in November of 2025. Just one right after the other. All these building on the next, no matter what level of success we have at every single one, it does things to move the ball down the field. As we said, you don't score a touchdown on every single play, right? Sometimes we continue to move the ball down the field. And the good news is we have more downs than an average football game, right? We get to keep doing project after project and keep advancing and advancing. So, wow. What do you think, Joe? We got enough out there?
Yeah. I mean, look, it's a lot. I mean, if it's not enough for some people, it's just being greedy, I mean, it's gluttony after a certain point. Right. Look, all kidding aside, we announced things that are happening that are in addition to the things that are already happening. We're still launching local groups. We're still running an active volunteer campaign. We are still connecting with local officials. I mean, we've got candidates already calling us on our phones saying, look, I'm running. I'm going to sign your pledge. I'm ready to rock and roll. All of that, in addition to all of this, is in addition to the fact that, and some of you may have heard this already, but since January the 1st, the executive team has traveled more than the equivalent distance around the equator of the earth, right? I mean, that literally is the number of miles the executive team has done. That doesn't count everything that the volunteers and other local leadership have done, right? So understand that we're out here working to make Texas independence a reality. And we got the plan. We've been working this plan since day one. It is a plan. It is a strategy that has been looked at, given the complimentary colonoscopy by experts in the field, globally recognized, and we're bringing on people left and right. I can tell you guys, when I gave a sneak peek to Kyle Biederman, former state representative who filed House Bill 1359, I thought he had a stunned look on his face because he was blown away. But his admonition was, just get the people a vote. And some of you may remember Dr. Matt Cortram, the international independence referendum expert, right? I mean, the guy who came over here who is excellent. I mean, he knows he is the world's foremost expert on independence referendums, and also apparently a guy who eats a lot of bananas. I bet his potassium's really good. But when we laid these things out for him, and everything we were doing, he again said, "This is solid." He said, "Work to get your people a vote, build the pressure locally, work to get a vote." So again, it's signed off on. So bottom line, Nate, is I think everyone should be absolutely over the moon. I know many of them are, because I keep getting notifications that the petition's getting signed because apparently I forgot to turn off my email address as the BCC for the notifications. So thank you all for doing that. I'll be clearing out my inbox for about 4 hours after this is all over with.
Oh man, it's so wonderful. There's so many reasons to just be thrilled with what all we've announced tonight, what all's coming. I mean, there's no dead spot in the end of our cycle. We're going to keep doing whatever it takes to get Texas independence across the finish line. We keep saying it's not a matter of if, but when and under what conditions. Yeah. I personally don't want to wait for the U.S. economy to collapse or something of that nature to happen. I want Texas independence on our terms. But here's something else that I share with a lot of folks. And I want you to know, in case you're watching this and you're kind of on the fence, you're going like, well, that's a good backup plan. That's another option we need. Understand that if you think we might need Texas independence 4 or 5 years from now, right now is the time that you do the work to get it. Because we have a really great chance at a referendum in November of 2025 through this process that we just laid out. But once the referendum's done, we're not immediately independent the next day, right? No, it still takes time for us to go through that transition process. So if you want to see a fully free and independent nation of Texas with its own laws and its own border security and its own foreign policy and its own monetary policy and all those things come to fruition, if you think you might want that, then you need to be doing the work today, because you might see it 4 to 5 years from now if you work really, really hard. This is not an overnight project. This is not an overnight success type of thing. It takes hard work day in and day out. So if you're thinking about maybe feeling a little burnout because you didn't see the exact results that you wanted this session, look, I get it. We all go through a little ups and downs. That's totally normal behavior. But understand, you've got teams of hundreds of thousands of other Texans, other supporters that are in this with you, and we're working to make it happen, and we don't stop. In the words of William Travis, never surrender and never retreat. We're going to keep moving until we get this across the finish line.
Sure a sign if someone believed from the very jump, from the moment they professed it, is whether or not they're still fighting for it. It's bottom line. Oh, and we crossed 480,000, by the way. So
yes. Oh, I love it. So I want to take the time to remind you all the key takeaways from tonight. They're scrolling across the bottom of the screen if you haven't paid attention, but we sign, share, and circulate the petition at TNM or petition.com, right?
Oh yeah, sure. Here, I have a graphic for that, Nate. Look.
No, throw it up.
Oh my gosh, look at that.
Oh, lovely. Sign, share, and circulate. Use those share links. We've made it super easy for you to get in there and do that. Share. You can share online. You can go to Twitter. You can go to your Facebook. You can go to your Truth Social. Go to the social media network of your choice and share those links and get folks to sign the petition. If they're registered Texas voters, they can sign the petition. It's truly amazing. And I say circulate too, because we need you to sign up at the end of that process to be a CPC, a certified petition circulator. We got some great training. We got an amazing program that goes along with that to keep you motivated, to keep you excited, to give you ideas on how to get out there and engage with Texas voters in person, face to face, and get even more signatures across the finish line and help us really continue to add to that front number on the site. I mean, it's incredible.
Yeah, and let me do this because I know we're wrapping up. Guys, don't sleep on that campaign page. I kid you not. I literally just got a text message from a county commissioner wanting to get a copy of the resolution because he wants to get it done in his county. So this is, regardless of what anybody says, people say Texit can't, Texit will never happen. Guys, it's happening right now. These campaigns are live. Petition signatures are flying in. County commissioners are reaching out right now because they've heard this. I guarantee you we'll go over there and there's probably a bushel basket full of precinct chairs and county chairs ready to get started on the CEC project. So, but don't use that as an excuse to procrastinate or not get involved. You got to get in. You got to get stuck in because we need everybody to get this thing done. And so, Nate, you got any final words before we go ahead and bring this thing home?
Sign, share, circulate the petition. Go to that campaign page. We've got lots of campaigns up already and more on the way. And get ready to buy Texit Con tickets because that's coming too. I mean, just I'm so excited and grateful for all the work that y'all have done this year already and got us to this amazing point that we're at so that we can move into this next phase of the Texit campaign and where we're going next.
Okay, rock and roll. Nate, thank you so much. Thanks to the entire team, all of our leadership, and thanks to all of you out there that are already doing exactly what Nate said. You're signing up for these campaigns, you're signing the petition, you're sharing it. I don't even want to go check my social media. Maybe I just won't, but I suspect you guys are doing a killer job on this already. And so look, guys, you know what you got to go do. You got to go win. You got to go do the stuff necessary to ensure the victory. We have cleared the path as clear as it can possibly be cleared. And now the rest is ultimately up to you. It's up to all of us to get the job done. So let's get across that finish line. Let's get a vote for Texit. Let's win that vote for Texit, and let's go win our independence. And so, Nate, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to leave them with the words.
Do it.
I'm going to do it. I have to. It's like an obligation at this point. But I'm going to leave you all with the words that I leave you with every time we're together. They are not my words. They are the words of Sam Houston when he said that Texas will again lift its head and stand among the nations. My friends, I believe that time is now. And the question is, will you stand with her? Let's go win.
If you feel you've no real voice, and at the polls there's no good choice, and the best is a lesser evil, just who? And it is time for a real change. Instead of voting more of the same, only one solution restores the power of you. When Texan rights have been impaired, and it's gone on for many years, there's only one way left to correct it. You know Texans are the best to decide the future of Texas, so pledge your vote today for Texas. July the 4th, we celebrate an exit of the United States from a British Empire that denied them representation. Yeah, and history repeats, they say. Britain's past became their fate when a Brexit vote restored Britain's status as a nation. When the Constitution is ignored, state sovereignty thrown overboard, and all attempts to restore it have been rejected. You know the Texans are the best to decide the future of Texas, so pledge your vote today for Texas. So high, no limits seem to apply. Is this the future we want for our Lone Star? What if tax dollars stayed in our state and Texans had the final say? Well, that's a future I'd be happy to vote for. You see corruption in D.C. or want a real tax decrease? There's only one solution left, you guessed it. You know the Texans are the best to decide the future of Texas, so pledge your vote today for Texas. Are you tired of a government that acts so reckless? You know the Texans are the best to decide the future of Texas, so pledge your vote today for Texas. Do you love this Lone Star state? Have countless reasons why it's great. Perhaps you decide the future of Texas. Go pledge your vote today for Texas. Sign up at texitnow.org.